Good evening, everybody. Welcome to AIMS India's live class, NEET Foundation Biology. In this class, we are going to discuss about some important concepts related to reproduction. Reproduction is a very important characteristic feature of all living organisms. What are the basic characteristics of all living organisms? There are three main characteristic features of living organisms. They are, the first one is growth, second one is reproduction, and third one is response to stimuli. So reproduction is one of the most important characteristic feature of all living organisms. So let us discuss about the reproduction concept in both plants and animals. What is reproduction? The process by which cells and organisms produce young ones of same kind. It is called reproduction. So, what are the different types of reproduction? Types of reproduction basically categorized into two main types. One is sexual reproduction and second one is asexual reproduction. Let us see the difference. In sexual reproduction, two parents are required and it involves the participation of sex cells. Means there is a production of gametes and fusion of gametes. Whereas asexual reproduction, it requires only one parent and no sex cells or gametes are involved here. Means there is no production of gametes and no fusion of gametes. So there are several types of asexual reproductions are there. Let us go through one by one. Binary fission, budding, spore formation, fragmentation, regeneration, vegetative reproduction. Vegetative reproduction also a type of asexual reproduction. Why? Because here there is no production of gametes and no fusion of gametes. That's why vegetative reproduction is also one kind of asexual reproduction. So this vegetative reproduction takes place through vegetative parts of the plant, that is stem, leaves and roots. So flowers are the parts which help in sexual reproduction in flowering plants. In non-flowering plants and lower category of plants, they undergo asexual reproduction either by vegetative reproduction or by means of these processes. Let us discuss in detail one by one. Types of asexual reproduction. First, binary fission. What is binary fission? Binary fission is a kind of asexual reproduction which takes place, which involves a single parent where cell divides into two daughter cells. For example, here either we can consider it as a amoeba or bacteria. Here one example is given. The single cell, we are mentioning here chromosome. If it is bacteria, we can't say nucleus. If it is a amoeba, it is a eukaryote, so we can consider it as nucleus. So here the chromosome or DNA, chromosome containing genetic material, DNA, replication is taking place. After that, a small constriction is formed in the cell that is called cytokinesis. Cytokinesis means division of cell. It divides the cell into, slowly it develops and finally single cell divides into two identical daughter cells. So this is a binary fission. Example, amoeba, paramecium, bacteria. Next, budding. Here also single parent is involved. The parent cell produces buds. It gets detached and it develops into new individual. For example, yeast and hydra. In plants, yeast we can take. In animals, hydra. Here if you take hydra, a tiny bump or a bulge appears on parent hydra. Later, the parent hydra develops the bud. It will increase in size and form a bud. And that bud grows and finally detaches. The bud breaks off to become independent hydra. So this kind of reproduction is called budding, a kind of asexual reproduction. So one thing we have to remember, the offsprings which are formed during asexual reproduction exactly resemble their parents, like Xerox copies, because no change in the genetic material, no recombination of genes. Whereas in sexual reproduction, there is a recombination of genes taking place. So new characters may appear in the offsprings which undergo sexual reproduction. Offsprings formed in sexual reproduction. Next, types of asexual reproduction. Another type, spore formation. Spore formation is a type of asexual reproduction where no production of gametes, no fusion of gametes. Here spores are produced. This is the most common method in fungi. Not only fungi, in cryptogams like fern and even in some bacteria also, this spore formation takes place. One condition for the formation of spores or asexual reproduction, that is, when the conditions are favorable, plenty availability of food and all the conditions, temperature and everything is suitable, then they undergo asexual reproduction. Okay, here spore formation under favorable conditions, spores develop into new individuals. So here example fern is given. In this these leaves called fronds containing the spores, they undergo a process called sporulation. The process of formation of spores is called sporulation. So by means of sporulation, the spores are produced. When these spores fall on suitable substratum, they germinate and grow into a new plant. Next, fragmentation. Fragmentation is seen in some algae, green algae, and also in fungi also. The organisms which with a filamentous body break into two or more fragments, and when those fragments fall on suitable substratum, they grow into new individuals. Example, Spirogyra. Spirogyra is a green algae. So here this is a filamentous body. So it will break like this, fragments. Each fragment, when the conditions are favorable, it detaches and they grow into new individual. This kind of reproduction is called fragmentation. Next type of asexual reproduction, regeneration. Regeneration, the organism's body breaks up into one or several parts, either by itself or accidentally. Each part develops into a new individual. For example, planaria and hydra. So regeneration in planaria. So here single organism. So accidentally when it any wound or injury occurs, it will break into two and each one develop into new individual. This is called regeneration. Re means again, generate, produce. In lizard also, sometimes tail detach. Again it develops the tail. That is regeneration. Earthworm also. When you cut the earthworm into pieces, the part with headpiece develop into new organism. That is called regeneration. Next type of asexual reproduction, vegetative reproduction. Here, the vegetative reproduction, organisms produce new individuals by a vegetative part of plant. Vegetative reproduction is common in plants. Example, potato, onion, ginger, mint, chrysanthemum. So many examples are there. So here potato. For example, in potato, there are some bud-like structures are present on the potato, which may be light yellow or greenish in color. So they are called eyes. This part, when you cut and place separately, it develops into a new potato. So potato is one of the example of vegetative propagation. Vegetative propagation by eyes. Vegetative propagation, many types are there. Here concept we are discussing. So natural type of vegetative propagation, one type that is by eyes we have discussed. And other types, runners, stolen, sucker, like that, so many types are there. So here we are discussing the concept. So let us go through the artificial methods of vegetative propagation. They are nothing but man-made methods of vegetative propagation. So here first method, cutting. The name itself is indicating. We cut a portion of a plant. It may be a stem, it may be a root. A part of stem is cut and the cut end grows into new plant when placed in moist soil here. Okay, this is called stem cutting. If you cut the root, for example, carrot, beetroot, if you cut the upper portion of that, then that also grows into a new plant. If you take the carrot, if you cut this portion and place in the soil, it develops into a new plant. Okay, mostly the ornamental plants and horticultured plants, means fruit yielding plants, mango, guava, they undergo propagation by means of cutting. Next, layering. Layering is also one of the most common method of vegetative propagation, man-made method. Here, the stem of a plant is bent down and until it touches the ground, like this. The stem bent down until it touches the ground. The stem is then cut once it develops the roots. After developing roots, we can cut here, this portion, and the plant develops into a new plant. This process can be done in lemon, rose, jasmine, flower yielding plants and fruit yielding plants, horticulture plants, lemon, even citrus plants. This process is done. So for this method also, favorable conditions are required. Good soil, moisture, everything is maintained. Next, grafting. Grafting is a typical method of vegetative propagation, and the stem of a plant is cut and then fitted on another strong plant and covered with grafting wax or with a tape. So this is the method of grafting. One is stalk, another one is section. Section, or we can also call it as scion. Scion and stalk. So the stalk is a normal variety, but the scion portion which we are grafting, it possesses some good qualities like size of the flower or size of the fruit, whatever it may be, or the taste of the fruit. The good qualities, we are calling it as desired quality scion, we will select here and we will graft into stalk like this. Here a small cut is made, the cut which is similar to this cut, such that it can fit in this like this. So this portion is tightly with a thread or a polythene wrapper tightly, and it is watered. Only stalk is watered. So this is removed only after it starts growing. The tissues, both the tissues, scion and stalk, should attach firmly so that the new tissue is formed and it will grow. This process is called as grafting, stem grafting. So apples, oranges, watermelon, ornamental plants, and croton plants can be propagated by this grafting. Next, tissue culture. Nowadays we are using this biotechnology and tissue culture. Tissue culture is the process in which a collection of techniques used to maintain or grow plant cells or tissues or organs under sterile conditions. Under sterile conditions. So here the a collection of techniques used to maintain or grow plant cells or tissues or organs under sterile conditions on a nutrient culture or medium of known composition. For example, here, so we are calling it as explant, the part of the portion of the plant which is selected for growing on a culture medium. It is called the culture medium, and on which explant is grown. This tissue grows into develops into new plant, and after that it can be transformed to another part, another either pot or suitable substratum. Next type of reproduction, that is sexual reproduction in plants, that is pollination and types of pollination. Pollination is the movement of pollen or pollen grains from anther, that is the male part, to stigma, female part of a flower, which contains the egg. So here see, it is a typical flower showing all parts. The middle one is the ovary, style and stigma. The main whorls, two main whorls, essential whorls, that is andrecium and gynoecium. This is the gynoecium and this is the andrecium. So the transfer of pollen from anther to stigma. So here anther to stigma, it is called pollination. So let us see the types of pollination. The types of pollination is of two main types. One is self-pollination and second one is cross-pollination. Let us see the difference between the self-pollination and cross-pollination. Here, one plant showing two flowers. Number one, self-pollination, and number two also self-pollination. In the first category, the transfer of pollen is taking place from anther to the stigma of same flower. It is a self-pollination. Here, in the second one, the transfer of pollen grains taking place from anther to the stigma of another flower of same species, same plant. It is also self-pollination. Next, cross-pollination. The cross-pollination, in the cross-pollination, the transfer of pollen grains are taking place from anther to the stigma of different flowers of same species but different plants. So let us see the definition. Pollen is transferred to the stigma of same flower or the flowers born to same plant is called self-pollination. Cross-pollination. Pollen is transferred to flowers of other plants of same species. Two plants are there. If the pollen transfer takes place from the flower of one plant to another plant of same species, then it is called as cross-pollination. So most of the plants prefer cross-pollination. Why? Because the cross-pollination has the chances of genetic recombination. New characters may be produced, and new characters may be produced in the offsprings produced by cross-pollination. Next, let us see how the pollination takes place by different agents. There are two main methods of pollination, that is self-pollination and cross-pollination. They occur by means of abiotic agents and biotic agents. So pollination Self-pollination, it is also called autogamy, self. Cross-pollination is also called allogamy or xenogamy. These are the technical terms. In NEET Foundation or MSET, vocabulary is very, very important. Terminology, definitions and examples are very, very important. So children, these terminology you have to remember with the help of examples. So the cross-pollination, but for self-pollination there is no need of some external agents. So generally the cross-pollination takes place which require some external agents. The agents which cause the pollination, they are called pollinants. So abiotic agents is anemophily. The pollination by wind is called anemophily. Hydrophily, the pollination which takes place in the flowers by means of water, it is called hydrophily. As these are non-living, we are calling it as abiotic agents and biotic agencies. These biotic agencies, there are several out there. So this is very, very important. See, if the pollination is taking place by beetles, it is called cantharophily. If the pollination, cross-pollination is taking place by means of moths, it is called phalanophily. If it takes place by bees, it is called milletophily. Bees, the bees are very important in cross-pollination. If it takes place by means of bees, it is called milletophily. Then, if it takes place by means of butterflies, then it is called psychophily. If it takes place by snails, malacophily. If it takes place by birds, ornithophily. These are all technical terms. If it takes place by bats, chiropterophily. Chiropterophily. If it takes place by ants, it is called myrmecophily. So these are all the important pollinating agents, biotic pollinating agencies. So nature playing very important role. Naturally, all these organisms are involved in the pollination. So that's why plants depend on animals regarding this purpose of pollination. So let us proceed to reproduction in animals. In animals also, both sexual and asexual reproduction takes place. So sexual reproduction in animals. Sexual reproduction in animals begins with fertilization. First production of gametes, then fusion of gametes takes place. The male gamete is sperm and the female gamete is ovum. Ovum or egg. So this fertilization occurs by means of two ways, external fertilization and internal fertilization. External fertilization, the fertilization which takes place inside the organism, inside the female organism, it is called the internal fertilization. The fusion of gametes takes place inside the body of female organism, it is called internal fertilization. Example, birds, mammals, reptiles, whales, insects, so many undergo internal fertilization. Then external fertilization. If the fusion of gametes takes place outside the body of animals, then it is called external fertilization. Most of the primitive vertebrates, they undergo external fertilization, and even invertebrates also prefer external fertilization, where male organism release the spermatozoa and female organism release ova outside the environment in which either it is in the water or it is on the land. The fusion of gametes takes place outside the body of animal, female animal. It is called as external fertilization. Example, corals, coelacanths, fishes, and frogs, amphibians. Next, hermaphrodites. In some organisms, both male and female gametes produced in the same organism. Such organisms are called hermaphrodites, and the phenomenon is called hermaphroditism. Examples. These are hermaphrodite examples: earthworms and leech, annelids, and helminth parasites also, internal parasites. Some of the helminth parasites also hermaphrodites. They produce both male and female gametes in the same organism. So self-fertilization takes place here. Next, viviparous and oviparous organisms. Animals are categorized into two groups, viviparous and oviparous, depending upon how they reproduce. The animals that give birth to young ones and development of embryo takes place inside the body of mother, then it is called as viviparous animals. Most of the mammals, or all mammals, are viviparous. Humans, goat, cow, dog, cat, rat, bat, all these come under viviparous category. Higher vertebrates. And some of the organisms, oviparous. Most of the invertebrates, like insects. The animals that lay eggs and development of embryo takes place inside the egg. It is called as oviparous. Example, birds, lizards. So we can take here, these birds lay the eggs and they will sit on the eggs and incubate. That process is called incubation, where the development takes place. Development means either the development is internal or external. Internal means when the development takes place inside the body of female organism, it is called internal development. Let us proceed. Next, reproduction in insects. For example, butterfly. These in butterflies, a phenomenon called metamorphosis takes place. Life cycle, right from egg to the adult. First, the adults. The process takes place like this. Let us see in detail the steps. In metamorphosis, in the life cycle of butterfly, the changes of form that an insect undergoes while developing onto an adult. So here, adult butterfly, male and female, first mate each other, and the female will lay the eggs. These eggs undergo metamorphosis, development, develops into larva and into pupa. So the adult butterflies find a mate and start the process of reproduction. Then adult butterflies lay their eggs on the leaves. The female one lays the eggs on the trees. So these eggs contain some glue-like substance so that it can attach to the leaves. Later, these eggs hatch into caterpillars called larvae. The larva of butterfly is called as caterpillar. The larva feed on the leaves. The larva hangs itself upside down. The body shortens and thickens, and it forms a hard case around itself called chrysalis and rests. This is called metamorphosis, where the larva is undergoing. The process of changing of larva into adult is called as metamorphosis. Several hormones. A hormone involves in this ecdysone hormone involves in this metamorphosis process in some insects like cockroach. Here, the pupa stage, the larva undergoes changes and becomes an adult butterfly. After that, it breaks this pupa and comes out and lead independent life. This is called the sexual reproduction in insects. Next, growth and development in humans. Let us see. In the humans, puberty stage is a very important stage in the life of a human being. The stage of life when an individual is capable of reproduction, reproductive maturity. The stage of reproductive maturity is called as puberty. On reaching puberty, a child becomes an adult, and this puberty leads to the adolescent stage, or puberty is a part of adolescent stage. The period of physical and physiological development from the onset of puberty to maturity is called adolescence. This adolescence ends with adulthood. Here, growth and development stages in the humans. A lot of changes takes place. See, this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These stages are representing infancy, small child, 1 year, from 1 day to 1 year. Then slowly the childhood starts. Then the puberty or adolescence starts. Then become adult. After that, old age. In this puberty stage, changes takes place. In girls, enlargement of mammary glands, widening of pelvic girdle, and onset of menstrual cycle, mensum or periods start during this adolescent stage. In boys, deepening of voice, production of sperms start at this adolescent age. And the growth of pubic hairs. Pubic hairs are common in both the boys and girls. So let us see what is the importance of this adolescence age. The adolescence is a age of confusion. So a lot of guidance and counseling is required. Children who are in adolescence. So that's why the lot of restrictions by parents and many guidelines from the teachers will be given to the adolescent child. So this stage needs more attention on balanced diet. Why? Because growth is very rapid, as it supports the growth and development of body. So next, personal hygiene. Most important one is personal hygiene, and regular exercise aids to be fit and healthy. Regular exercise will help to be fit and healthy. So that's why taking a balanced diet, keeping healthy or hygiene. Hygiene is the subject deals with the healthy habits. So next, the problems associated with adolescence. There are physical and some mental changes can take place during this adolescent stage, which cause mood swings, and sometimes happy, sometimes sad, like that. Means at the adolescence age, most of the children will form peer groups, same age groups, give a lot of importance to the friends rather than parents. Okay, that's why unhealthy habits may be learned if they are guided wrongly by peer group. So adequate parental care is required. Means more parental care is required, and guidance should be given to this adolescent child. So this is growth and development in humans. About reproductive system concept not included. The next we'll see. So thank you for watching our video. Before ending this video, let us have a small exercise. We will enjoy this. Reproduction. Reproduction, amoeba usually reproduces by which method? Please answer those who are in live chat, please answer. It is reproduced by binary fission. So the answer is A. Yeast reproduces by which method? Yeast is unicellular fungi. It undergoes reproduction by budding. Most of the fungi undergo spore formation. So here especially yeast is mentioned. So budding is the process of reproduction in the yeast. Next, which of these organisms reproduces by multiple fission? Here amoeba, plasmodium, hydra, yeast is given. So please select the right option. Yes, A is the correct answer. Amoeba. When it undergoes the multiple fission, when the conditions are not favorable, it undergoes multiple fission. Which of these organisms can reproduce new organisms by regeneration? We discussed in the concept. Here, paramecium, yeast, planaria, mushroom is given. Come on. Yes. C is the correct option. Very good. Which part of a croton plant is capable of vegetative propagation? Which part of croton plant is capable of vegetative propagation? Most of the croton plants will be vegetatively propagated because they are non-flowering. Here, vegetative parts are root, leaf, and stem is given. So, yes, A is the correct answer. Very good. Which of these plants does vegetative propagation by leaves? Vegetative propagation by leaves. Hint I am giving. Epiphyllous leaves they are called. Identify from the following: sugarcane, money plant, bryophyllum, grass. Very good. Bryophyllum is undergoing vegetative propagation by leaf. So here sugarcane by stem cutting, money plant also by stem cutting, grass also by runners, stem only, nodes. Next question. What is the prevalent mode of reproduction in most of the fungi? In most of the fungi, what is the prevalent? Means most common. Binary fission, spore formation, budding, multiple fission. So this kind of question will be asked in the competitive exams. Here, two options are very close: spore formation and budding. So here, most prevalent. Very good. B is the correct answer. Spore formation. Whereas budding, yeast. Binary fission, amoeba. Multiple fission also, amoeba. Which is the male reproductive part in a flower? Previously we have seen a flower. So you have to observe the flowers so that you will be knowing how the arrangement of the parts. Male reproductive part in a flower. Here, calyx, corolla, ovary, anther. Or sometimes calyx, corolla, androecium, gynoecium will be given. Yes, very good. D is the correct answer. Anther. It is also called androecium, male reproductive part of the flower. Ovary, gynoecium, female reproductive part of the flower. Calyx and corolla are the first and second whorls, sepals and petals. Next, which is the female reproductive part in a flower? Female reproductive part. ovary, sepal, petal, anther. So you have to select the right option, ovary, sepal, petal, anther. Yes, A is the right answer. The female reproductive part is ovary. Last question. Which of these is the pollination agent for a maize plant? Maize plant is a grass family, belongs to. So, how the pollination takes place in maize plant? So, we have discussed the pollination by different agents. Pollination, anemophily. Here directly the options are given: insect, wind, animal, water, or sometimes hydrophily, anemophily, okay, and zoophily, like that it will be given. So here it's a grass family. The pollination takes place by wind. B is the correct answer. Very good. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching our video. Please subscribe our channel. So by every day we are giving the schedule. According to schedule, we are providing the live chat. So please utilize and please subscribe so that you can get the regular notifications. Thank you.